in a sense, an energy, and it's actually very, very despairing. So yeah, again, I have very few people in my life, and like I wish, again, one of the things with cell phones is that it's hard for, people will still have your phone number even though you haven't seen them for a year and a half, and they'll still message you, oh, I'm in town, why don't we meet up? It's like, for what? Or message me, somebody, guy that I lived with for a while, Robert, and it was a terrible, terrible situation. It worked out so badly. It just turned out so bad at the end. And he messages me out of nowhere. The last time I saw him was August last year, and he says to me, how's it going, bro? How's your life? He says, I was about to end mine until I thought of you. And I thought, oh, gee whiz, bro. Like, wow. Firstly, he's a drinker, so he could have been drunk at the time. I'm like, dude, I just don't want to have to deal with this right now. Like, thanks very much. But I got my own thing going on and my own life and everything else. And it's just like, again, there's no point. There's no, such a language barrier between people of consciousness. You just can't. I messaged my brother the other day. I think it was actually yesterday. We're talking about why I feel about the existence of life after death. And there was somebody, people here in South, there's speed bumps in most roads because people just go crazy, and just worse when I used to stay in Umhlanga, much worse. But it was down the road here, some 20-year-old person, they going down the road, they landed up like in the middle. It was crazy. Obviously they were speeding anyways, so that's just how it goes. So I was speaking to my brother. I had a conversation with him, and whatever. Towards the end of the conversation, I was just talking about like life after death. What. So he says he would like to think that there's something after this. He'd like to. And for me, it's like, well, how much time do you actually spend thinking about it? I'm not asking him because I know he doesn't want to get into the conversation. I know we've got to keep it very sort of on the surface of things. So I don't want to put myself out there, which I do often, and again I feel like sort of a bit ashamed, and like really I'm kind of rocking the boat, and it's like, oh no, here goes Aaron with this deep stuff that I really don't want to think about, and it's really So I messaged him. What I wanted to start with a few sentences turned out to be a whole long rant, in a way. As I said to him, a spiel, a whole long spiel, and. Whatever, I said to him that, I don't know if I want to get into it now, but I said the fact is that if we knew that there was heaven, right, or there was a reward, then what we would do is would be good for a reward, and not good for goodness sake, for goodness sake, yeah. I wrote it out better than I'm saying it. Because what I was saying is that, and if there was a hell, then you wouldn't have a choice. Well, you would have a choice, but you'd be motivated out of fear. So it doesn't help, And so the idea is that you don't know what lies beyond the grave. And therefore, if you do good for the sake of goodness. And I use an analogy, again, talking to him more in his language, because he's a businessman. I also sent the message to my father, and I said, like, let's say you're working in a company, and you do a good job simply because you want to get the bonus. You don't really care for the company, you don't even love the job, you dislike it, and everything else. But the reason why you're working as hard as you is to get the bonus. So I said, it's great that you get the bonus, but there isn't much job satisfaction. You know what I mean? You're not loving what you're doing. You're not working from love, and you might act in ways that will make, just cut corners, whatever it might be, and cheat a little bit in order to get that bonus. But if you did it because you loved the company, you believed in it, you believed in what it does, you believed in your peers or your colleagues, you believed in the ethos of the business, maybe the CEO was even your brother or something like that, and it was a family business that you really felt connected to, and that you did a good job because you wanted to elevate and uplift the company and support the company and grow it, and maybe you have shares in it, eventually you want to have shares in it, so it's kind of your own, And that's why you're doing it, not simply for one outcome which only benefits yourself. In a way, you see your intentions are just to benefit yourself. You don't care about the job, you just want the bonus type of thing. So there's a big difference. And there's a lot of more meaning in it. When I'm not saying that somebody must love their job that they hate, and not at all. It's obviously just an analogy. I'm saying it's the same thing with life. It's the same thing because you value yourself, you want to fulfill your potential, you want to make life meaningful, and then you hope that there is a reward in the afterlife, or not even a reward, just the fact that you had job satisfaction, that you can feel proud of growing your heart or your soul or your spirit, uplifting your spirit, through matter, through being a soul in a human body type of thing, a spirit in a human body that's just here for a short time, which does feel like a very long time, and it's so brutal, more brutal than you can ever suppose. But there's more to meet the eye than meets the eye. So from that point of view, the fact that heaven there is no guarantee in a sense. I mean, I would say 99% feel, and it makes so much sense to me that there is life after death. That there is something. And again, it's more real than this world. It's more everlasting in a way. Look, I think I think obviously we came here because to be at a disadvantage in a way, and to work through the disadvantage, because again, it's like Buddha being in the palace. There was nothing to contest with. There was nothing to contend with. I mean, there was nothing. It was all just bliss in that way. And I don't know. Again, I don't know afterlife, but again, I don't think that you can perform so well with without being separated in a sense. Again, if a parent raises a child, and sorry about the noise, this is just the cat and I'm with the, through the railing and whatever, but anyways, if a parent raises the child not to leave its room ever, and is always taking care of the child and looking after the child and supporting the child and everything, and spoon feeding the child till the age of whatever, then the child doesn't really develop itself. It doesn't need to. It doesn't need to become dependent. It doesn't need to become self-reliant, right? It doesn't need to struggle in a sense. It never really grows, So again, I think that part of this life is the separation with the opportunity to, become self-fulfilling and meaningful to the soul and to the spirit. And that's, I think, what we take with us. And I think that's what's going on here, and that's what we're supposed to do here. And that's why there's a thing called evil, and it comes to misdirect us and get us attached to materialism, and again moving us away further from our soul. Because I think the more you negate the soul, the more you suppress the soul. If you want to call it the soul, the highest self, the divine self, the pure being, highest, whatever, consciousness, whatever it might be, that when we suppress it and we lose our connection to it, then again life becomes empty, we become depressed, we become a lot of things, and easy to be influenced and easy to be manipulated. And again, I don't think we can be truly creative. I don't think we can be truly imaginative. I don't think we can be truly inspirational. I think the further you remove from your soul and your spirit, again, the more disconnected you become, the more, how would I say, you lose the spark, you lose the flame, in a sense, just the further you move away from the source of light, of information, of truth, and you become corrupted. Like alcohol, for example, corrupts your spirit. I mean, it really does. And people who are full-blown alcoholics, it just takes away everything from them. It takes away their relationships, their health, their mind. Takes away. Doesn't really add at all. It's a very, very expensive. Also financially. but on all levels, for what it gives you. And then again, you become possessed in a sense, because when you're drunk, you move very much away from your spirit, from your soul. I mean, look at people go to a bar and they're not even recognizable as human beings, in a way. I mean, they look awful, and the body's actually being poisoned. And the thing is that alcohol is a poison. If it doesn't get out of the body fast enough, it kills you. That's what alcohol poisoning is. It just kills you. The body can't, get rid of it fast enough, and it kills you. So, so there's that. Move further away from our soul. And again, this is the planet that we were living in, the world that we're living in. Movies and music and, books and whatever it might be. Even work itself, capitalism, we know that. It's based on turning, as he says, into the Matrix, Neo. So he says, well, what is this? He says it turns the human being into this, and he's holding a Duracell battery, He says it's into a battery, it's to a supply for the machine. That's what it turns you into, Neo. I've seen the fields, where they feed off the human beings, and it feeds. So again, I wouldn't get this deep with my brother, because I think I'll just set him off in sort of a tizzy, in a bit of a, like I'm saying, it's hectic stuff. Like if you watch The Matrix from a metaphoric point of view, or an energetic or something point of view, it's very frightening. I mean, it really displays a lot. It's a trip, man. It's a psychedelic trip. No question about it. Hey, Kitty, what do you say? So, man, there's much to be said on the suppression of soul and self, but you get the idea. And I mentioned this so many times. And again, when I talk about these ideas, it's like, okay, fine. So let's say yesterday I started on the journey, I wouldn't say the journey, I started on the assumption, or the kind of the belief or the idea or the notion or the sensation. Again, I think sensation comes at a later stage. But I think it's like idea first, or belief, idea, notion, and then like a sensation, really, of what I'm saying. Okay, so yesterday or 2 days ago I decided to entertain the idea, the possibility that there is life after death, right? Again, that's just the starting point. That has to be developed. I'm saying that's how you live with that idea every day. It's not just a thought somewhere, random thought or an idea that comes and goes or what if. No, it's actually a way that you live your life, like the idea of God. It's a building of a sensation and a relationship in your life with the notion, of God. Whatever that might be, whatever word you want to use, because I don't think whatever God is, or how to explain it, is really fussed whether we call him or her or it God, or higher self, or Atman. I mean, that's what people have been saying, Like, you don't want to get carried away and say, well, I'm God, which is Atman, is the self, but I don't think they meant it that way. So you don't want to get carried away with that, and so I'm God. But I don't think the higher deity, or whatever it might be, creator, right? The Father, the Mother, Christ, whatever it might be, really is bothered about the terminology we might use. It might be limiting to us, as with definitions of words and everything else. But anyways, so that idea, because again, it's like the scripture, I mean, I was raised to believe in the idea of God and to worship God and of being of service to God and all of these things by my religion, by being Jewish. So God was prescribed to me. I was informed, heavily impressed upon and forced to believe, literally forced to believe in God, who requires you to pray 3 times a day, to keep kosher and the Sabbath. It was forced. It wasn't an option of mine, and God created the world in 7 days, and he split the Red Sea, and and did all of these things, and you have to believe it as at face value. I mean, for what it is. There's no There's no two ways about it. This is how it is, you know. I'm going with the stick here. The cat's decided to come up. This is what it is. You know, you got to believe it. And Noah's Ark, and you know that every animal and species on the earth came together. Even the penguins, 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah! And they all climbed onto this ark. And you know, one day Noah forgot to feed the lion, and they bit him or something, like some nonsense. And you got to believe it for exactly what it is. And there's Abraham and there's Isaac and these people, and they walk like Bedouins or something, you know, in the deserts, in the harsh suns, but they were, just, you know what I'm saying, just really like fantastical stuff, which is just, for me, just so far out and foreign. Yeah, Kitty, and you see we're making a noise while people are listening to this. Yeah, anyways, this is what I got to do. Yeah. Anyway, so to live with the notion every day, you know, through your whole experiences, through one's whole experience, not just as something that God is there on a Sunday morning, you know, in church, or when we you know, when someone passes away, and you know, and whatever, you know what I'm saying, or times of tragedy or something like that. And I'm not taking a religious approach to this from religion point of view of like, again, because I don't even think that I know people and members of my family that pray, go to synagogue, shul 3 times a day, keep kosher, don't mix milk and meat. I mean, keep the Sabbath. It's crazy what they do and all the requirements on them. But I still don't feel that they're living with a sincere, you know, understanding or real notion of a private, personal, intimate, you know, relationship with God. Right, or Christ, or whatever it might be. It's not sincere. Again, it's just generic based, copy and paste what other people have said or something like that. Again, you know, oh, how many people are enlightened and have reached nirvana and satori, and you know, and like the new age and all of, whatever it might be. And it's just become such a thing, you know, such a cultish, you know what I'm saying. I don't need to preach the gospel here to people like yourselves. I don't believe you get what I'm saying. So for myself, again, it's like if I'm coming to my brother, I remember there was a Terminator movie. I don't know which one it was. There were just so many. And there was a Terminator. It wasn't number 1 or 2. I think it was one with Christian Bale. And there was a woman who came from the future to I can't remember the story, but she was aware of like a deep truth, a deep reality of something, and she tells this guy, and he says, I don't believe you. And I think it was, you know, the Terminator, or some, I can't remember, it doesn't matter, the Terminator that said, you don't believe him because she said, you don't believe it because I've gotten used to this the way of this reality. I've gotten used to it. You know, like with Neo in the Matrix, and they're telling him, well, Neo, this is what's going on, and he says, let me out. You know, they say he's going to pop, and he vomits. It's like, for him, that news, to wrap his head around it is very, very extreme. It's like a massive dose of reality or truth or just expansiveness that he's just not used to. It's way out of his comfort zone. It's very, very traumatic. I mean, you can be sure of it. I know in my own life. That's why I know when I was speaking to my brother, I just got to be careful of people that I don't make them want to pop, you know. In the past, before, like a long time ago, like I really wanted to push that on people and say, you will taste this medicine, you know, and it's bitter, but it will, you know, or something like that. You got to wake up from your slumber and sort of force people, not force them, but I was maybe more aggressive about it. And now I'm not. I'm actually very sensitive about it, you know, dropping bombs on people like that. I don't want to make them pop. I don't want to set them off in a frenzy where they have anxiety for like 4 or 5 days until they, you know, kind of be able to get back to the sort of mundane persona, you know, day in and day out, you know what I mean, rescued by the culture again, and anything that becomes, I mean, that's how I was as well. I remember sometimes when, you know, in the beginning stages, I used to go and smoke Mary Jane out of the city, and I flew on it, and I just wanted to get back in the city because I felt like I was too expansive. I felt the anxiety. I felt so much of the unknown. You know, everything was unfamiliar and strange and very, very large. And, you know, I mean, because it is the universal experience, large, people. It's so large that we can suppose. Like I said, we just cannot fathom how much, I mean, even right now, what is actually going on, because we're so hardwired into being Aaron and Charmaine and whatever your name is, and Ricky and Dan and Angie, and just thinking of your names, and Simon, and anyways, don't take offense if I don't remember your name, and we've spoken quite a bit because I'm terrible at names, and also if I haven't met you face to face. But we're so hardwired, we are so plugged in. It is frightening. We don't have nature, we're not surrounded by nature, we're not barefooted on the sand dunes, while seeing every star in the sky, and you know what I mean? No. Hey man, I'll just tell you about where I'm standing right now. It's artificial, man. It's artificial. It's simulation. It's, in a way, I'm just saying, the city and everything else. And, so again, coming back is that it's expansive. I mean, I remember when Terence McKenna used to say you would take a psychedelic and he'd be like lying in the darkness in a fetal position, and he'd feel like the oceans were like, rising and making, sort of tidal waves or tsunamis or something like that. I mean, I remember when I took mushrooms as well, and I actually ended up walking on the streets. It was crazy. I asked my girlfriend to come to help me because I was in such a bad state, and she was taking time, and I just couldn't sit still, and I walked out the cottage, and I was walking in the street. I couldn't barely cross the road. And she came and she fetched me, and I was like, I've lost my mind. I've gone, and I mean, seriously, it was like 1.5 grams of shrooms, but I did a massive detox before, and this is my first time. I didn't know what I was getting into, and I fasted for quite a while. It was hectic, and it was in the city, and it was in the middle of the day, and hey man, it was also the Rugby World Cup. It was in 2010, I think it was. It was a Rugby World Cup, and it was just the energy of the place. And so I met her, and she picked me up, and I was like, I can't go back into the cottage. She says, why not? What do you want to do? I said, no, they're going to come knock on the door. There's a chance that they could come knock on the door, the owner of the house, or they could go in the garden, they will see me or something. I just feel like everywhere's got eyes or something like that. There's, I just feel too vulnerable, because it makes you feel very, very vulnerable. You take away the ego, you strip away the ego, and you just get vulnerability to the extreme, because you are vulnerable. You're like you're a little human being. I mean, you've got this immense soul, but on so many levels, in the magnitude of where you come from, and you're living in such a finite existence that you believe is real. What a joke, that you believe is real. It's madness, sheer madness, that you believe is real. And it is real, and it's real enough, and it's real as it needs to be, and it serves the purpose that it needs to do. But it's ephemeral. It's oh my goodness me. We have no idea. We absolutely don't. And it's supposed to feel real, and it's supposed to feel as evil and dark as it can be, and it's supposed to feel as separation as we can be, and the degrees of pain and anguish and sorrow and grief and love and joy and bliss that we can. It's supposed to be that way. And boredom and monotony and, evil versus dark and evil versus light, but dark, feels like it's always winning, doesn't it? Always feels that way, like the game is tilted. The table is tilted, folks. As George Carlin says. It does. It just feels that it's not in light's favor. It's like, no, not at all. Show me where light is ruling the way in this world. I mean, for heaven's sakes. Look at this country going to the elections, and people should be voting for the Democratic Alliance, but they're too white of a party. But they're so sincere, and they're so transparent, and they are what they say they are, and they're genuine. But then you've got these corrupted parties that are corrupted to the core, evil to the core, thuggery, mafioso style. Will take the bread out of a starving child's mouth after they are completely full, and bellies are full and popping at the seams, and they'll still take their little piece of bread out of that starving child's mouth and still eat it, because that's what they are about. And yet the people of South Africa will still vote them in. They will still vote them in. It's literally dark versus light, good versus evil, but they will not vote for evil. for good. They will vote for evil, and that's a whole nother reason why. Again, because they've lost touch with their own soul and their own spirit. They say we can't trust the white man. Firstly, it's a white president, yes, it's a white leader, but the majority of his party are black and colored and Indian people. So it's not a white, but it's just traditionally seen as white, and it's like, oh, but you can't trust the white, but you'll trust the current ANC. It's crazy. So again, you look around in this world, very, very, very little light, a whole lot of dark. Just seems completely outweighed, the dark versus the light. So that's how it goes. But that's how it's set up. That's how it's supposed to be, and it's part of a season on planet Earth. It's part of how the stars align energetically for the time that we are in. It's a Kali Yuga of some sorts, or whatever it might be. So yeah, but anyways, coming back. So I'm just thinking, let me save this. Yeah, I just needed to save in case. You see this, because in case my phone dies, or not dies, but it freezes, and then I lose that conversation. Yeah, you see this cat. I stopped to write the name of this talk, and I don't know what the name of this talk is. And this is what's horrible, because I don't want to forget my point of where I'm at, and I have to save a part. So what do I save? I can't say part 1, because you know how many parts I got. So I just write transformation, and then I got to think of a title for this talk when I upload it. And those is the nitty gritty that I don't like doing. I should just say talk 1, talk 2, talk 3, and the people who really listen to my recordings, like every one of them, well, but I don't know. I don't know how to title my talks. Anyways, as soon as I start typing in the thing, I've been giving, whatever, the cat's been trying to run after her, give her attention. I start typing this, she starts crying. Anyways, it's hard to explain. So just coming back to what I was saying was that, living with the notion of a higher power. And again, we've got to get over the fact of a higher power. Like with my father, his feeling of a higher power is called Hashem. It's basically Yahweh, and you are in service to Hashem, and that's your job. You are just to be of worship, and you're doing everything for him because he demands you to do it. Like, that's the idea. It's not out of love, it's not out of care, it's because this is the way it is. It's like, the general of the army says to his soldiers, "Get down and give me 20, and you will go and fight in this war, and you will do it because I say so." And that's his way, that's his impression. But he's also so confused, so conflicted, because sometimes we'll talk about God in a very loving way and a very supportive way, and then you'll be like, or even he will say at times. So depending on the day, these people hold so many contradictory, diametrically opposed ideas in their head. Most people that I talk to, when it comes to these kind of things, or just in general, they hold the most. But I say, well, how can you believe this and then believe that? Like, it doesn't make sense. How can you believe that on the one hand God is loving and caring, and we come to this earth and whatever, and then you think to yourself, no, only as we come to this earth, it's not about your own soul growth, it's not about that, it's basically to uplift and elevate God. I'm thinking to myself, honestly, do you honestly, like, that's the Bible, that's the God of the Old Testament. Like, honestly, you really think that God needs you to uplift him in the sense of what you're saying by uplifting him? Because that's a Shema Yisrael. Basically it's a Jewish psalm that says, which is like the most important psalm that there is. You said when you wake, and when you go to bed at night, you cover your eyes, and when you pray, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, the people of Israel, something or other, Lord our God, and God is one. It's always this whole time of like, there's only one God, there's no other gods. And people will tell you that there are. That's what happened with Jesus and the whole cross story and everything else, It's like, and you got to believe, and there's one God, and he's the best God. He is the best God, and you are the chosen people. Oh, and it's like you believe this stuff, but wholeheartedly. So it's like, on the one hand, God is so loving, but when you read the scriptures and everything else, it's like, Jesus is a bad dude. So it's like you're so complex, you're so confusing, you just got so much clutter that it's frightening talking to you. It is. And then in a way, like, I'm also just amazed. Okay, so like with my brother, okay, so you don't, then what are you doing here? Like, what are you doing here? What is your life about? Is it just, it's a mute point? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, we're just here either way. We got to do what we, well, why? What are you going to do? You know, like, I mean, I know, obviously, but like, yeah, you just got to put food on the table. You got to pay rent and whatever. It's like, okay, fine. You're just not willing to live without any significance or meaning or any bigger picture in mind. And that's what I'm saying. Talking to somebody who doesn't live with a bigger picture in mind is ridiculous. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. And then you get people that are like very knowledgeable, but they have no wisdom or experience. They just don't know. It's like, again, people know how to make a cheesecake. They know, they've read the instructions. They've read it and they know it 100%. Okay, it's not always. I was thinking of trying to think of another example of how to explain this, but express it. But I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. So somebody who knows how to, like, physically has been told and the ingredients is, and this is how you make the cheesecake, and they've studied the art of cheesecake for years and how people made cheesecake 100 years ago and where the ingredients has come from and everything. But you know what? They've never actually tried to make a cheesecake themselves. They've never had the experience. They've never had the taste of the cheesecake. They've never had the smell of the cheesecake, right? They've never switched on the oven and okay, and actually experienced it and maybe felt like intuitively, okay, no, that room for, again, it's kind of like just mechanical. It's like, well, we'll just get a machine to make the cheesecake, the exact amount of recipe, like we manufactured something or other. It's like, 100%, every piece of cheesecake will always taste the same when it's mechanical. But when it's human made, it doesn't necessarily do that. It doesn't turn out that way. There's differences. There's so much. There's too much. But okay, I'm getting carried away. But the person has never. Like, for example, they've read about, they know everything there is about India. They know everything there is. They know the cultures, how many different religions there are. They know the different cities, they know the different suburbs. They just know, the average earning income, the average household, how many children. Like, they know everything. But they've actually never walked through the streets of India. They have all the information, but they've never walked through the streets of India. And yet they feel that they're knowledgeable, but they don't have any experience. And that's what I'm saying, is that these people believe in God or they believe in life after death, but they don't actually have any real self-experience with it. They haven't lived with the notion of it in their lives. They haven't really spent time in it or investigated or warmed up to the idea, or practiced the idea. So even if I'm telling you, okay, so there is something called a soul, because my brother was saying to me, my brother was saying to me, like, I don't know how to relate, I think, to my soul. Isn't my soul just my earthly experiences or something like that? I mean, I actually wanted to read his comment, his question, and within his very question, it's contradictory. It doesn't actually make sense. But I don't know if this recording, if this program will allow me to, this app will allow me to read that and not get disconnected. So I'm a bit worried about that. I'm just wondering if I'll be able to do that, if I can just remember what he said offhand. But basically he was saying, look, I don't know what my soul is, and isn't it just my earthly experiences, made up of my earthly experiences? Like, how do I tell the difference? How do I tell the difference? So, well, fair enough question, but we're talking about the soul here, man. We're talking about your very essence, if you have one. This is not to be taken lightly. This isn't just like a conversation that we're having over WhatsApp, as if, like, we're sharing the rugby score or the cricket score or the basketball score or something like that. But that's the relevance that it's given. That's the importance and significance, again, because in this world, the way that it's all pushed, is that this is not really important. This doesn't even really count. So again, if you're living this life without a notion of a soul or a higher self or a true self or authentic being, and all you are is just your experiences or your culture and the way that you think and your thoughts and your patterns and your coping mechanisms, and your subconscious and whatever it is, then you're not even alive. Then it's like, there's, how for me do I relate to somebody like this? We're not nearly on the same wavelength or understanding. They're kind of seeing it as very nonchalant. Oh yeah, it's like when you go to church and then you pray and that's what you do and that's your relationship. And again, for me, when I'm talking about a relationship with God, I'm talking about a relationship not as something as, to a degree yes and to a degree no, not something that's in the sky or something that's has a voice. To a degree, yes, that is a person. To a degree, yes, but I'm talking about God in the sense of nature, God in the sense of like this experience. It's kind of like, if you're watching a movie, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a bad analogy. Yeah, but let's say there's the screenwriter or there's the director of the movie. And the movie is part of the director's creation. Do you know what I mean? So if you're acting in a movie, right, you're aware that there is a creator. Like the Truman Show with Christoph. I mean, he wasn't aware of Christoph. But what I'm saying is that the way that how this whole structured together was by Christoph's design. Right, the world itself. I mean, the sun and the moon and the ocean and everything else was of Christoph's design. And I'm talking about like also the mystical nature behind things. Or the Truman Show never had any mystical nature. It was all taken out, just like in our world, that there is no mystical element to it, really. It's just so humdrum. It's honestly just Kim Kardashian's butt. I mean, I honestly saw this the other day, that Kim Kardashian's fans turned against her because they all spent so much money going and getting voluptuous bodies, and then her and her sisters decided that they rather want to go skinny or something like that, or lose a whole lot of weight, and now they're like, or did something else, to be like, guys, you betrayed us. You honestly betrayed us. Like, we just feel so lost that you went, and I'm serious, I'm not exaggerating. I think it was in some documentary where people just said, no, we can't do it, we can't believe it, because now we spent so much money trying to look like you, trying to get in with the fashion, and now you've gone and changed it. And we don't have the money to do this. We can't afford to, do whatever's the next, and then you're going to change it again. That's what we're dealing with. I know I'm being a bit, dramatic, but I'm not at the same time. Because how belittled we've made this life, how meaningless, how lack of mysterious, and magical we've made it, and miraculous we've made it. Like how it's so ridiculous. It's so pathetic how and by what levels we are entertained by. It is so ridiculous the foods that we eat. It's just so ridiculous the houses that we live in and everything else. How far removed away it is from the miraculous, from the mysterious, from nature. I mean, even the whole schooling system. Oh my word, it is hardcore matrix, man. It's hardcore matrix. Hardcore wide into the freaking matrix, man. And we just raise our children in it as well. We just send them to the same schools and we do the same things, and anyways, I'm getting carried away. So not, again, for most people's lives, again, so for my brother, not operating on this level with the notion of the miraculous in his life. Let's just say the miraculous, In Search of the Miraculous. I think who wrote that book? Was it Gurdjieff? I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not well read, and I can't remember people's names. Like terrible. Anyways. authors' names, psychologists' names. I just can't. I embarrass myself. I forgot that it was Rodney King that was involved in the LA riots. I thought it was Martin Luther King. No, it wasn't. I mean, I just forget and I get names mixed up, and it does happen, I suppose. But again, there's just so much information, and hey man, hope I'm doing my best. Yeah, so anyway, so let me just end off with this. I mean, I could keep on going on. Also, I did a coffee in them, and I think I put too much coffee in it, and it's just, I'm not enjoying it. I know I don't drink coffee at all, and so I'm very sensitive. So I'm just kind of burning off this buzz, and you're just having to bear the brunt of it. Because otherwise, what am I going to do, really? I don't feel like sitting down. And anyways. Yeah, it's like I really think I'm talking on really a high level, and these are real gems, and again, we're doing it kind of like in secret. Not in secret, but again, not many people are going to hear, which is fine, really, because I don't think most people would understand. But it's like in closets, almost, in a way. It's like here's a dude walking his cat, wearing his gown, playing a stick with, like I'm just saying the most sort of, just, again, I'm not standing in front of an audience of thousands of people, and I've written hundreds of books, and you know what I'm saying. It's just some random dude in Durban, South Africa, with his cat. I mean, on his own in this house. This is how it's done. Do you know what I mean? This is how it's done. Again, it's not, I don't know, not being world famous in a sense, not being bestseller author, not being, I don't know, taken ayahuasca 100 times and taken shrooms 500 times, and an inventor, you know what I mean? Again, like very well known, highly educated, traveled the world, knows like 5 different languages, photographic memory, and that's the cutting edge, those kind of people. Scientific, quantum physics meshed with, Jungian psychology, mixed with occult science, mixed with, like a really top of the top type of people, PhDs, and that's not where it's done. To a degree, this is where it's done. This is, and it's bizarre. Again, because I think what I'm saying is top notch. I really do think that what I'm talking about is top notch, and I didn't get here overnight, and I should be more proud of myself, and I should live with this proudness throughout my day, because a lot of the time I feel like crap. I feel so, again, like if I don't know what's wrong with me. I spoke about this in a previous video. When I wake up, I got to wake up like at 7 o'clock. If I oversleep, why? What's your rush, man? Well, it's a Monday, you got to get going. Oh, you didn't get so much done today. Or you're feeling tired throughout the day. I'm saying at 2 o'clock you got to lie down. Why you got to have a siesta? What's wrong with you? Why can't you drive in traffic? Why can't you go into supermarkets, for more than 20 minutes without wearing earplugs? Like, why are you so sensitive? Type of thing. And I give myself a hard time, and I feel like a loser. I feel like a loser a lot of the time. Again, a disgruntled, dissatisfied, nothing to really offer at times, loser, which is okay, because that's my inner critic, that's my own trauma that is coming up for me and everything else. But I think I got a good take on life. Well, compared to most other people, the bar is set so low, so again, it's whatever. But anyways, I still think I do quite a good job. And I do think there's maybe 3 or 4 of you listening to this right now, and that's great, At least I'm not talking to myself. I hope not. Anyway, so just coming back, and then about the soul and how I kind of explained it to my brother, has really not given this much thought. Maybe half an hour his whole life, maybe an hour his whole life, maybe even 24 hours. Still not enough. Still not enough. Well, I hope, or I think, or whatever. Like, it doesn't really involve me. It's like, a can of tuna that's, most likely, you know, in the back of my cupboard, my grocery cupboard, or, you know, that kind of cupboard that's about to go off, and I'm completely not aware of it. And you know, like, that's the relevance almost, or like the importance of, you know, there's other things going on besides having to worry about a tuna can that's about to expire and I'm not, you know, going to have to throw it away. You know what I mean? It's not really relevant. There's no real place for it. I don't even know what to do with it in the first time. I don't even know how to wrap my head around it. Let me save this. I got to clear out space on my phone. That's what I'm worried about. Is that I might have like 5 megs left on my phone, and then it just interrupts the recording, and then I'll just be heartbroken. All right, so ending off. Yeah. So how do I approach him? And also when I did write this whole spiel to my brother about God, I also felt like uncomfortable, because not just God, but often, you know, because I also spoke a little bit about existence, that you cannot prove that God exists and cannot prove that God doesn't exist. And in that way, the design is a real intelligent design. And I still think, sorry, I forgot to make the point, and for those who are not listening anymore, you missed out on that point, and was my major point, is that there must be an intelligent design, because again, we don't know what happens in life after death, and that's been intentionally, I think I might have mentioned this, intentionally done with intelligence, the way that it's done. And within that, you can see that there's an intelligence to life, you know, that it is about free choice. It is about choosing without knowing that you're going to get a bonus, without, not just because you're going to get a bonus or a seat in heaven, but you have free choice. You have free choice to decide for your own goodness sake, for your own potential, for love, for care, for kindness, for consideration, whatever it might be, for growth. And really, growth only comes in form of love. Fear does not make something grow. Fear corrupts something. Fear belittles something, breaks something down. It hinders something. It stops progress. It regresses. It more protects itself and doesn't really grow. Anyway, that's what trauma does at the same time. So that's what I'm saying, is that just you can deduce, is the word deduce or deduct, I don't know, something or other, that in the way that it's designed in that way is very much that there is an intelligent design behind it. You know, from that notion, from just this thought process. Okay, fine. So I sent that more to him as well, and I just feel like really uncomfortable. You know, I also sent it to my father, and I know how to speak my father's language. So when I write the word God, I write G-D. You know, that's just the way I do it, because actually write God is like kind of just blasphemous or something like that. I don't know. So I know that I'm writing it to him, so that's what I do. Again, I kind of talk to him in his language, try and make it as comfortable as I can, in a way, which is one of the things that the Old Testament does say. Then, is that talk to people in the language that they can understand, which is not just a language as in English, you know, the guy speaks English, speak to him in English, but like in a way that they can understand, on a level that they can understand. So I really like it, and it's very important. You say, well, why would you do it at all, Aaron? What else have I got to do? You know, I don't know. At least maybe in, you know, some time in their life, they might look and say, you know what, I remember Aaron was speaking about something that was quite significant, and really, you know, with everything else, all the sort of just mundaneness and just la-di-blah stuff that was going on in my life, kind of the superficial, he was really talking about something, and I'm grateful for that, you know. And also, I feel like I'm doing my job, because I feel like I've got a big responsibility on my hands. You know, if I was blessed to be able to see the way I do and feel the way I do and work out things that I have been able to work out, then I need to share that with others, you know, my other lost brethren, you know. You see, this conversation can go on and on. And I'll end off on this, but I was talking about the part of the soul that I was trying to be able so that he could relate to it, right, which I doubt he will, is that I was saying to him that I have forever felt like me since I've been born in this life. I've had a sensation of a notion of feeling like myself. I say when we dream at night, it's bizarre, it's crazy, you're flying on a turtle wearing a cowboy hat and a G-string or something like that, but yet you're still seeing it through your own eyes. You're still feeling it from a common place and a familiar place within yourself. And that has been, I said, even if you're transgender, you'll still feel like you in a certain way, even though, I'm just saying hypothetically, even though you have, a penis instead of, I don't know how it works, or whatever it might be, instead of something else. But you'll still have the experience. Only you will really know your own thoughts in a way. And maybe technology will change that. Only you will know what you're dreaming. You can't involve. So there's a separation, and in that experience of you, in that familiarity, that even when you were like 10 years old, you felt like you. So from lifetime to lifetime, you still feel like you. Whether you're 16 years old or now you're 96 years old, you still have a sense. I mean, if your mind is still there to a degree, you'll still have a sense of yourself. It's a familiarity that's constant, because it's not just an experience that you're having. Well, my earthly experiences, yes, that is part of it, which adds more to the personality to a large degree, depending on the type of experience, depending how it's used, transformed, how it's integrated, so many things. And most life lessons for people are not integrated, and so they don't change, they don't really evolve. But we do evolve. So again, the soul evolves. There's too much to get into it now. But I was saying you feel your essence and a sensation of you. And the more that you connect to that sensation, and the more that you act from that sensation, again, I'm using words to describe a process that's a lifetime. Again, you just don't wake up and be like, okay, I'm going to act from, again, and I just sound like I'm just hypocritical. So I'm just saying, like, act from the essence and be motivated from the essence of who you are and what you feel is you're to be. It's like, again, I'm just using these words, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of it, but there is a practice. It's a practice. It's an everyday, sort of meditation, if you will. But within your walking, within your actions, within your talking to others, there is somewhere that you're holding in a space, a very sacred space within yourself, that you are a soul, that this very essence of who you are. And when you're interacting with people, and people that are negative, and people that are disruptive, and people that are toxic, then your very essence will tell you, and it will guide you. If you're in touch with it and say, these people are toxic, this food is unhealthy, it will show you. To a degree, you're going to get burned, but you'll eventually get better, and you'll get yourself from not being so lost anymore. And that will be, let your soul be your pilot. Let your soul guide your way, So, and that's what that song is about. And again, so that's how, but yeah, it's not really relevant. The soul, like, I'm not quite sure. Kind of an earthly experience, haven't really thought about it, whatever it is. I'd be like, okay, well then you lost. It's like Oprah Winfrey, you lost, and you lost, and you lost, and you lost, and hey, guess what? You also lost. We are all lost. But it's okay, because if we all lost, then it's cool. We can keep each other company. Yeah. Right. Back to watching reruns of The Simpsons, or Family Guy, or something like that. That's it. Oh, it's not significant, guys. I haven't really thought about it, Anyways, you get my point. So, I've said quite a lot. I mean, there's just so many points that I've mentioned, so many things that we could sort of elaborate on. But I think that kind of covers it as well. But again, the significance and importance of this not just being something like, something that you hear in church. And no, I mean, this is serious. This is life or death stuff. This is like make or break kind of stuff. This is the real deal, I think. So yeah, I'm just trying to collect my thoughts. Yeah, so it makes life holy. It sanctifies one's very existence, one's daily existence. Again, it's not just sanctifying one moment of meditation or something like that, but it's everything. you know, and we walk on holy ground, and the ground is holy because we bless it. You know, we bless it ourselves. We make it holy ourselves. And through making that holy, and we're uplifting ourselves, we're uplifting our souls, you know. And, you know, why the hell not? It's not because you're told to by God. It's because we choose to by our own hands, by our own desire, by our own sense of love, dedication to ourselves, commitment and respect and honoring to ourselves, you know. Yeah, I mean, isn't that a life that one can be proud of, that one can feel good about, that one can feel satisfied with, enriched about, you know? Aren't these things important? Not in our society, not in our culture, you know? Again, the ethos, the message is get rich or die trying, bitches. I mean, that's what you're dealing with, you know? But that's why, you know, the road is long, and it's a lonely one. Because, yeah, well, you know why. Yeah, so I think I'm just going to end off on there. There's so much more. I'm just tired now. I suppose the coffee's wearing off, but there's much more that I will save it for another day. Yeah. Alright, take care.